one side of the world, hunger, thirst, and droughts are starving over 9 million people to death every single year. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, an emerging issue is growing faster than ever before. Currently, around 13% of the world's population has a BMI over 30, which classifies them as obese. In the last 45 years, the obesity rate has tripled, and it's currently estimated that the obesity epidemic will be doubled in only 15 years, and that by the end of the 2050s, about half of the world's population will be obese, which would make it the most devastating health crisis of the century, even if medical treatments improve along with it. But first, let's try to understand what obesity actually is, why it's a problem, and why it's even happening. As per 2013, obesity has been widely declared as a disease that requires treatment and prevention, although large portions of the world have formerly classified it as a behavioral abnormality. Now, obesity is defined as having a body mass index over 30, and since most people who follow my channel are fitness fanatics, you probably already know what that means and what the body mass index is. But for those who don't know, the body mass index is a value derived from a person's weight divided by their height squared. So if an average person is about 175 centimeters or around 5 foot 9 inches, in order to therefore be classified as obese, they must weigh in excess of 92 kilos or around 203 pounds at the bare minimum. Now, for the gym guys watching, this number doesn't seem too bad, but then you have to consider that most people don't exercise, even once per week, and that having above average amounts of muscle mass sort of invalidates the BMI scale compared to the average person. That's why the BMI isn't exactly good at assessing obesity in individuals, but on a populational scale the numbers become more accurate. So for reference, this is what a fitness model or bodybuilder can look like at 92 kilos, but this is what the average person tends to look like at the same weight. And this is the very minimum requirement for obesity. So why is obesity such a big deal? People today seem to live longer than previous generations, even despite this big jump in body weight for the average person. Yes, people in general live longer for a few reasons. Globally, we have improved healthcare and medical treatments, diagnostics, and we live better lives in general from a health standpoint. But what makes the obesity epidemic so scary isn't just the fact that being obese reduces life expectancy on its own, but it also increases the risk of developing other deadly diseases such as diabetes, high blood pressure, general heart disease, strokes, and many different types of cancer, creating an accumulative risk of premature death just because of one thing. And all this is stacked on top of the lifestyle-related symptoms of being obese, such as becoming easily out of breath, sleep apnea, which also reduces sleep quality, and you also have higher rates of joint pain, and also cognitive diseases such as depression, dementia, just general cognitive impairment, meaning your brain won't be working as efficiently. And people with obesity generally have more short and also long-term sick leave from work, and they place a larger burden on society as a whole, especially in healthcare. Now, one of the leading causes in adult obesity is childhood obesity, which means that the childhood obesity rate serves as a decent predictor of obesity rates in the coming generation. And these last few years, the childhood obesity rate has seen a spike. And since 1980, in countries such as the US, the childhood obesity rate has almost tripled. And these aren't people who decide and choose themselves what they want to eat. They are literally children who don't have much or even any control over what they eat on a daily basis. And this is one of the most dangerous effects of obesity, that parents who themselves have a poor relationship with food and physical activity are more prone to pushing those habits onto their children, even without realizing. And especially in the newer generations, including my own, where children are being protected from anything classified as bad or uncomfortable, which to some is healthy food and exercise. And also most schools across the globe, including in Norway where I live, haven't done anything to accommodate for the rising population of obese children. And when you've been obese your entire life growing up, those habits are gonna stick for most people as they become adults. And then they're going to fill those same habits into their own children. So where does the problem really start? There isn't actually a clear consensus as to one specific reason for why obesity is becoming more common, as the picture portrayed never really reveals the full story. It's common knowledge that the variety of high-calorie dense foods has grown tremendously over these last few decades, especially in the form of fast food chains that are located everywhere, in city centers, malls, airports, even remote locations, and they facilitate poor decision-making when it comes to meal choices. And on top of this, we now have a large range of unhealthy foods stacked inside of grocery stores and cafeterias. Sugary drinks have replaced water, and most cheap food options are usually very calorie dense, tempting those with lower economic power to purchase worse foods over healthy vegetables, fruits, grains, and importantly lean meats. Exercise. Although the fitness industry is growing bigger day by day, so is the number of people who remain sedentary and don't meet the minimum requirements for physical activity. So even if there are more gyms, sports, or opportunities to be physically active now than ever before, people are still not exercising sufficiently. Even though physically active workplaces still exist, people often opt for office jobs, or at least sedentary jobs where they remain seated for long periods of time, and even schools are essentially doing the same thing, but to children. And finally, the overall environment. From the second we're born, the environment we live in play a vital role in how we grow up. From kindergarten to school to high school, and for some, college and universities, whether or not your families are physically active, if you participate in sports, what hobbies you have, etc., will all affect how you live your life. But it will also affect how you view yourself, how critical you are of certain behaviors, and how you handle problems and conflicts. And the following claim hasn't been supported by science because it's really hard to actually document it, but I believe that establishing a good relationship with food and physical activity in kids, both through parents and the education system, is one of the best ways to go about solving this issue. Now, I don't know how school systems across the globe stand by this issue, but here in Norway, where I live, there was this professor with a similar education to mine and with a specialization in nutrition who went against the school system and tried implementing more physical activity on a daily basis. But she was repeatedly shut down by the schools and the government, even though the numbers from several studies showed that children who were more physically active both at school and at home, especially on their own accord, performed better in school and generally had better in-class concentration. So it goes to show that implementing these changes into a larger system can be very difficult and will meet opposing thoughts, even if it's the objectively right thing to do. And studies have also attempted to give obese children diet plans to follow, but they seemingly have no effect because the parents who make the food don't actually follow those plans at all. So what can we actually do to combat this ongoing crisis and help the people who are experiencing the direct effects of obesity? Laugh at them? Stare at them? Shame them? I've seen a lot of people going around saying just eat less and exercise more. And while that would certainly help or even fix the issue completely for most people, if you've never had a good relationship with food or a good diet, if you've never trained outside of PE class, then that's a much bigger step than most people can accomplish on their own. It's a full 180-degree turn. And what I want to say is that people who either know somebody with obesity, or if you watching this right now are obese yourself and you want to start moving towards a healthier lifestyle, start small. Make small changes into habits, and then make those habits into your own new lifestyle. Just doing small things like going from regular soda to diet soda, drinking water with every meal, walking to work, showing up just once per week to train, not even at the gym, eating an apple or a protein bar instead of a chocolate bar, choosing less calorie-dense food options, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, going for a walk in the morning or evening, everything adds up, and even the smallest improvement is still an improvement. And let's also get rid of the fear about going to the gym for those who want to lose weight. Every gym goer started out as a beginner, some started skinny, some started fat, others somewhere in between. And none of them are going to think worse of a person going there to just improve themselves, especially not people with severe obesity, because most of us understand how big of a mental barrier you had to overcome to even get in the gym. And if you need somebody to help you, consult a friend, tell your family, or even contact an online coach like myself who can hold you accountable and make the plans for you to follow. Every person is an individual, and not every tip or trick will work equally well for everyone, but for weight loss, the ultimate goal is to create a lifestyle that lets you maintain a calorie deficit in a way that you can actually enjoy. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys think we should be moving towards for solving the obesity crisis, what individuals should do, what the government should do, and what our friends and family should do. And if you've actually lost a crazy amount of weight yourself, leave a comment. I'd love to read some good stories and experiences. And if you're new on the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button, because it may only be clicking a button, but it means a lot to me if you decide to do so. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time.